let's start the show. I am Cat Bine, and this is my show, Cat Calls, that I do every Thursday here on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/KATB as in boy, EIN. That's right, that's my name, and I'm spelling it out because maybe you're rewatching this on YouTube later if I catch up with all my YouTube edits, and if that's the case, you are cordially invited to join me live on twitch.tv/catbine when I do cat calls and I have someone very, very, very exciting on the show. But I'm not here just to talk to people of the future, no. I'm here to talk to people of the present. You, right now, Francis Sun Photo, K Thanks, Action Jackets, all of you, and more. I am here to give a big round of applause to our guest, Vindata, everybody. Vindata. Is it gonna go? Yes, it's gonna go. Oh man, I'm a one-woman show. What can I say? Okay, so our guest today, Vindata, we'll ask them, we'll clarify, are a duo coming out of Los Angeles, making waves with an impressively vast array of influences and emotions in their awesome catalog, okay? They popped onto the scene like a comet shooting across the sky. And I first heard about them on 2016's Better, a collaboration with Miha that stays in my most played list year after year. If you're with us live, you know we were just listening to it, and that song just keeps on getting better. Okay, you guys didn't come here to listen to me sing poorly. You came here to talk about Vindata. And after they teamed up with Miha, they teamed up with Anderson .Paak, they teamed up with Wax Motif, they teamed up with motherfucking Fat Joe, which is very cool. Fat Joe is awesome, and Remy Ma. And they just keep on going. Skrillex was a big fan early on. He signed a lot of their music to his Outlaw label. But when it came time to set their minds to their debut full-length LP, they actually found a home for their cinematic world on Monstercat. And shout out Monstercat. We love them. Big fans over there. This album just came out last Friday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And the album is called With Opened Eyes. It's 12 tracks. Run the gamut from hip-hop infused exotica to feel-good summer pop, and I'm excited to learn the story behind this impressive collection. I believe they put a whole fucking lot of their heart and souls into it, and I think they have some stuff that they'd like to say, and I'm here to let them say it, so I will stop talking. And before I get Jared and Branden, that is their names, on the line, I'm going to play for you their single Skin. It's one of the feel-good kind of poppier jams on the album, and they've got a nice little visualizer that they made to go along with it. So I'm going to play that, and when we come back, I'll have Vindata on the line, and you guys can ask your questions, drop them in the chat. Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell Stacy. Let's just party. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Vindata!
Hey.
And I can totally see both of you, so magic is in the air. The stream gods have blessed me and we and all of us. And thank you so much for joining me today. And K Thanks is saying, what's up, y'all? So, what is up, y'all?
Everything is up right now.
I mean, I hope that your moods are very high because you just dropped your debut album on Monstercat, and that is a huge achievement. Congratulations. It's a wonderful collection of tunes.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a long road with that, and we're just super grateful that we could share it with everyone, and hopefully they're enjoying it. But yeah, we're really stoked, really excited to share all this, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to hear the whole story behind the album, but this is our first time chatting together, which is my honor and my pleasure. But because of that, I definitely want to get to know you two both better. And you haven't done a whole lot of interviews, I don't think, because when I was trying to find all of your personal secrets on the internet, they weren't a whole lot of them out there. So you keep it close to the chest, and I appreciate that.
Hey, we were saving that for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, really, you were saving it for Flat Eric, but it's okay. We were talking up Flat Beat in the back, yes.
Positive.
But that's a good place to start, actually. Like, it's dope that you guys are into Mr. Wazo and you know Flat B, and that was like, it's actually a pretty old electronic music song,
Right.
and I
The
wanted.
Levi's commercial.
Yes,
Remember
exactly,
that?
exactly.
Yeah.
So that brings me to start to dig into like, how did y'all get into this world of electronic music? Is it something that you were into from a young age? I mean, back in the time of flat beat, it wasn't a very popular thing to be into. So
Right.
I'm curious.
I mean, we've always been big fans of Ed Banger. So, growing up in that scene, the blog house era, the early electro house era.
People are going to start to think I tell people to say this. I just like, I'm more than happy to talk about Bloghouse, but I'm like, do I just get lucky? Everybody just brings it up on my show. I guess I'm asking for it, but was that something that you guys were able to experience in Los Angeles?
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. My first taste of electronic music, I was on an Air Force base in junior high, if I'm correct. This is like 98, 97. I'd walked in and I seen the cover of Daft Punk's Discovery album, and I was like, this looks dope. Back then, they had the headphones for the CDs, so you put them on. I was listening. I was like, all right, I'm going to cop this. And then that introed me into trance. And then there was like I don't know how many years lull of just listening to those albums over again until I met Branden and my previous friends. And we grew through on Ed Banger and
the LA rave scene, going to like little crazy little dungeon looking places in East LA. And that's kind of like how we came into the scene. Like, we knew about dance music, but it was always like this thing like from afar. Department stores and stuff, or watching European festivals, or like some shit that we saw on E.
Yeah. Wait, on which kind of E now? Are we talking the channel or
the E channel.
Yeah.
They would do like the little vacation spots. They'll do like Ibiza on E, and then I'll be like, oh wow, this is crazy. But we didn't really have an up close experience until the LA rave scene sort of like started popping, and we just got into it with that. And at the time, people like Mr. Wazoo and Justice and Mastercraft and all those guys, they were like doing their thing, and those are the people that we were listening to back then.
I mean, it's the same. I was right there with you. On the other side of the country, though, all the way over in Florida, North Florida, where there was a scene and there were things happening. LA and New York City gets all the love, of course, because they were major metropolitan areas. But we were doing dirty Florida things. We were having a good time. Jared, though, you kind of slipped in there that you discovered Daft Punk on an Air Force base, and that's because you grew up. Were you an Army brat or something like that?
My dad was in the Air Force for 27 years. So I was born in Okinawa. I lived out there for about 8 years. I left for a year because he got transferred to the States for a little while, but spent most of my childhood out there.
Wow, that's so... I mean, I guess, it's easy to romanticize like, ooh, childhood in Japan. That sounds so like fun because, of course, I'm a nerd and I love a whole bunch of Japanese shit. But like, was it really fun? Is it romanticized in your memory now?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. The island itself is a little different from the mainland of Japan because we're island and there's a lot more military presence there.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a beautiful childhood. I mean, I got to go to Japanese beaches. They had a massive arcade called Sega World out there. Just walking, it's all Sega games.
I love arcades. I live for arcades. I was very upset the first time that I went to the UK and I kept Googling arcades and they were all just these like weird places people played poker. And I was like, this is not what I'm looking for. I want Mrs. Pac-Man.
That's funny.
It was fun though. I mean, it gave me an open eye into different cultures, different music, obviously anime, and that kind of led down a rabbit hole of other stuff.
Yeah. What about you? Oh, what was that?
That was my blessings for my life.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, truly, yes, and that is a great thing to be in the habit of doing. I mean, you're making money making music, which is another just like truly wonderful opportunity for anyone to have. So, congratulations to both of you. Branden, did you grow up in the Los Angeles area? Where were you forming who you are as a person?
Yeah, I pretty much was like in the Southern California area my whole life. Like I was born in LA. I lived all over Southern California, so I just bumped around a bunch when I was a kid. But it's LA's always been my home, so that's just it's not that crazy of a story. It's just I'm an LA kid.
Yeah, I mean, same though. The chance to grow up in a major like cultural hub for the world has got to do something for you.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy place. It's where crazy and like relaxed meet.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah,
That's nice.
It has this laid back approach that everybody loves. Like when they think of California, you think of this like laid back place, but then it's kind of insane at the same time.
I can feel you. I grew up in South Florida, which Miami is also an interesting intersection of crazy, but palm trees. That's nice.
Yeah.
Like, the weather is good. Rains a lot more than it does in LA, though.
Definitely does.
So where did life bring the two of you together? How did you first connect, and when did you know, I want to team up with this person, like for real though, like as an artist and a life partner of sorts?
I'd say about 2008. I was still in I was producing as a regular producer in LA. I just been there for about 2 years, and I had to get a job. So I worked at Hollywood Video first. That got X'd. I went straight to Circuit City and was like, I'm just going to do this. In the process of that, one of our best friends, he worked at Circuit City. So he introduced me to Branden one day after work and was like, yeah, this is Branden. I was like, oh, hey, what up? I had a home studio in my house, so they used to come by and just goof off. And we kind of just started the inception of Vindata in a garage, just kind of making records and goofing off.
Yeah, we really had no idea what the hell we were doing. Yeah. And that's the beauty about like electronic music. When you first get into it, it's just trial and error, just experimentation and all that. Like, I mean, I guess like other genres, they do the same, but at least you kind of have like a sense of, what you should be doing if you're doing rock or hip hop or, but electronic music is so like weird. It has like that vast environment where you can just take it anywhere. We were just clueless when we stepped into it. So it was a really big like learning lesson for the first few years, just trying to like, develop our sound and all that. But yeah, we kind of knew that we would click as musicians and as producers because of our background. Both of us come from like a gospel background. We both like grew up in church. We both played like drums and stuff for our churches. And
oh, fun!
Yeah, we both love hip hop and R&B. Like we like a lot of the same artists. We grew up on, and we kind of connected on that level, and that's kind of how we put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jared, you were already producing. Branden, did you know how to produce when you guys started hanging out, swapping weird sounds in the garage?
I won't say I knew how to produce. I tried producing before that. So, like, in high school, I used to goof off with my friends and on Fruity Loops. And back then, before they started calling it FL Studio.
Right, yeah. I know it as Fruity Loops as well. They're like trying to make it, I don't know, highbrow by calling it FL Studio. Like,
no, that's Fruity Loops. Like, you're not fooling anybody.
Exactly.
But yeah, I kind of like goofed off on that stuff. And I remember I used to like make stuff on Acid Loops, which was another like terrible, I won't call it terrible, but it was just like a remedial level of DAWs. And I wasn't, really, really like heavily into it yet though. I just liked being creative and, I played drums, like I said. And then as I like stopped that and came back to production later on after I met Jared and we started going to shows and stuff, me and my other friends started going to shows, I started taking production a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
And then I just started learning Ableton. That's kind of how it came.
Amazing. I mean, what a nice, just thinking back to what you were saying again about like being in LA for that sort of blog house explosion. And I'm sure that was just incredibly inspiring. Like the freedom of even the sounds that were coming out at that time. I feel like in the years around like 2012, 13, 14, it kind of went back to a formulaic place, but definitely in that like 2008, 7, of course, my favorite year, but like 2008, 2010, it was kind of like, anything goes. And it was just like, if it grooves, people fuck with it. And so I guess that maybe that was, part of it for you guys. It was like, why can't we do this?
Yeah, it was back then. It was the Wild Wild West. Like it was anything goes. It doesn't like matter. Like I feel like since EDM didn't exist,
right? Which blows some people's minds. I've actually interviewed artists who I guess like are a little younger, you know, because it's like every other day there's like an amazing 14-year-old or something. Not that that's what I'm talking to, but like, and then I'll talk to them and I'll be like, oh yeah, before EDM, and they're like, you've been in this since before it was called EDM. And I'm like, yes, I am old. It's a very recent
thing. For us, it's like EDM is a new thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a new term that got slapped on, but we didn't call it EDM when we got into the scene. There was no one walking around like saying, oh, this is EDM. And I think too, with that name came expectations of how something should sound. And, you know, like we said before, like those expectations weren't really there before because it didn't have that label associated with it. So, it's a different landscape now and we're just managing through it. But yeah.
Yeah, true. Well, the first time I heard about, first of all, pause please. I was going to say the first time I heard about Vindata, and then I thought to myself, you know, I was chatting with Branden yesterday about how to pronounce Vindata. He told me all apply. Jared, do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. My voice is super deep. So when I'm in the club and they're like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, Vindata. Like, what? Vindata. I'm like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone says data or data differently. Like, depending on how you say data or data, like, it doesn't really matter. It's tomato.
Vingatica. Just like anything goes. Can we just start talking? I like that, though. It comes from data. It comes from data.
It comes from data.
It's tied to this electronic world.
Like, we wanted to sound computer techy and shit, and
Vin is also a tech term. I'm putting the pieces together now. I mean, did you mean it that way?
It was more like the real word vendetta. We took that and then we try to like flip that into something more techy. But honestly, I'm going to give a shout out to Mastercraft on this because they kind of inspired this.
Yes.
I remember like back in the day, like watching a interview that Mastercraft did, and they were explaining why they took the vowels out of their name. And they were just like, yo, telling the interviewer, like, yo, there was another Canadian like hardware company or something. They had the same name, Mastercraft.
Oh, yeah.
And we wanted it to be Google friendly. And so that's why we did it. And that whole like clip, like I forget who said it, but I think JFK might have said it. But like that whole like clip like reminded me when we started working on our name, just make sure it's Google friendly. Make sure it's easy for people to like, it's unique enough, but memorable enough to like get people to like know where to find you and recognize that, you know, you are who you are. So that was kind of like the philosophy behind it, but we were just thinking about like cool words and trying to be all techie and shit.
I fuck with it. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, say however you fucking want, as long as you play it on Spotify.
Exactly.
I'm all good with that.
Yeah.
Okay, but so the first time I came across the word Vindata, it was the song Better that you guys did with Miha, which you might have heard me gushing about before starting the show with the intro and everything. I still, to this day, it's just like such a joyful, fun song, and it captures a moment in time for me as a fan of music. What do you remember about that song and that moment in your career? Because I feel like that's really when you guys had a big push into the mainstream a little bit, or I don't know if mainstream's the right word, but you guys know what I mean, like the greater consciousness of the national electronic music world, or what have you.
Well, my first experience with the record is when we were shooting the video, and I tried to stage dive for the first time.
Oh my God!
Landed right on the rail, like bang,
No.
just everything, and it was nobody even saw it. It was so slow. I was just like, I watched Branden and Miha jump in, like, we're getting the shot, and I jumped into the gate. Everybody was pointing at them, and I was like, nobody saw me. I didn't know where to go, so I just crippled over the fence and ducked through the crowd and ran through the crowd for some reason.
Oh my God.
Ran all the way back on stage.
Wait, was that at Ultra? Because I was watching the video wondering if it was filmed in Miami.
It was, part of the video was filmed in Miami, but that particular incident that happened at Jared, that wasn't Ultra. It was like in Santa Ana, I think, in like Orange County.
Not one of my finds.
It was funny. Like, we made a meme out of it. Like,
I mean, I appreciate that you say in this story that no one saw it when it happened, and you played it off cool by walking through the crowd, and yet you're still sharing the story with everybody, making sure that they know. Yeah. That's a humble king right there. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, that song, Better, it was kind of like one of the first records, one of them that we started like making that had like a really big presence to it. Mm-hmm. Our style typically is pretty chill.
Yeah.
And groovy. Like, that's kind of like the pocket that we like to live in. That record was like more of like a festival kind of record that you would want to hear at a festival. And that's why we filmed it, part of it at Ultrafest and a couple of other venues, like those really big moments. And it did its job for that time. Like, it did what we wanted it to do. And shout outs to Miha, Amber. Mm-hmm. She helped us like really like create a world around that song with the whole KGB thing, like the hashtags and the whole movement behind it. Like, with that type of record, we were able to like create a whole movement. And I mean, we've even seen kids get like the KGB tattoo on their arms or whatever. Like, they like, that collab so much that they got tattooed.
Oh, I mean, it is a beautiful collab, and I feel you. It doesn't quite sound like other things in your catalog, and I don't think it quite sounds like other things in Miha's catalog too. I know that she's a very versatile artist as well, but like, yeah, it was just some sort of lightning bolt of a sound, which is a very cool thing to do. And I commend you both for being the type of artists that aren't afraid to like do something different. I know some artists get caught up in this cage of like, well, this is my sound. Everyone expects this sound. The fans like that sound, so I want to keep giving that sound. Or even in the reverse, like you guys had a song that resonated with a lot of people and didn't then go, oh, well, I guess we need to make 700 betters now. Like, let's just make better, and better. Like, yeah.
No, we get bored easily with like making the same stuff. Like, we just like we like so many different types of styles, like so many different genres. And people always ask us like, oh, what are you listening to? And they think that we're listening to artists that sound like us, or other. No, it's like we literally don't even listen to our genre. We only listen to our genre when we're looking for songs to DJ,
right?
And throw in a set. But typically, when we're going about our day and we're in the car or we're like at home chilling, we're listening to all different types of stuff. It's all over the place, from emo to neo soul to jazz records. And
oh yeah, well, jazz is the foundation of all great things, so highly suggest everybody listens to jazz at least part of the time. Oh, K Thanks wants to know if you have a favorite emo band. Now you've outed yourselves out.
Ooh.
So it's time to drop some names.
I got two.
All right, we'll take two.
I currently produce emo pop punk. I've been doing that for years. My favorite.
I did not know that. Okay, let's hear it.
My my side job. You know?
Okay, hell yeah.
It's got to be the homies Good Charlotte because they were my mentors. I worked for them for 7 years. So
Loser anthem.
They've always showed us love.
Shout out to Joel and Benji.
Joel and Benji,
the whole Madden crew. And then my other band that I'm currently working with under the Maddens is a band called Water Parks.
Ooh.
Shout out to Water Parks.
So they're
Shout out Water Parks.
Yeah.
Right.
Check them out. You know, it's a homie Austin, Otto, and Jeff. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. I'm so glad that we're getting into this element of your dynamic. First of all, what were you gonna say?
I mean, emo, like I went through my emo phase, my early adulthood emo phase, and it's funny that we like connect on that because like I grew up kind of like listening to like Taking Back Sunday and Thursday and Story of the Year and Thrice and like Yellow Card. I remember like when we played Santa Ana, it was at the Observatory, I believe, and it was like, I guess like half of the building was with Destructo and E40 and us, and that was like the tour.
Oh, shit, damn.
Yeah.
You guys just I'm just loving listening to your lives, really. I'm just like, keep going. It's great.
That's a crazy lineup. Us, Destructo, and E40 are playing on one half of the room, and then the other room, Yellow Card is headlining, and we're just geeking out. Like, we're just like, Yellow Card's playing. Like,
we were blasting Ocean Avenue at my house not too long ago, so yeah. Man, okay. Also, I would love to be in a party where E40 is going to play as well as Yellow Card. Like, just, that's when you know we finally beat the genre monsters out of our lives. Like, we all just like this music. And Infamous is very impressed with the emo lineup that you just dropped. You're very cultured, Kate Thanks says. I would love to hear how you met up with the Good Charlotte guys. I grew up listening to their jams super heavy. That was a definite moment for me. What are they like to work with? That's so cool. And way to really rep when you said like, well, we don't really listen to our genre in our off time. Like we have our fingers in a lot of stuff. That's so cool.
I mean, what was that? It was probably about 2 years after I met him. I was still producing daily, and one of my friends he's an engineer.
Shout out to Jason.
Yeah, Jason Fleming. Shout out to that dude. That's my guy. I wouldn't be the producer or engineer I am today if it wasn't for him.
Wow.
But, he was friends with the Madden brothers. He was friends with Josh Madden, older brother, and he was building a studio. I was working there as an intern. I became a studio manager, then full-time engineer.
Wow.
He had mentioned to Joel and Benj, like, we got this spot. You know, let's build. This is back in West Hollywood. So I met them for the first time. They came through. They loved the spot, and they kind of just made it their home. One tidbit when I first met them was I confused the hell out of both of them. One, I thought Benji was here one day and Joel was there. They looked exactly
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They're kind of hard to tell apart sometimes.
Same height, same build.
Are they actually twins?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, but I guess I just never thought about it. I've never been in that situation, so I've never had to be like, fuck, I can't tell you apart.
It was rough for the beginning, but over the years, they're like us. You would think they only listen to rock music. They completely listen to everything.
Yeah.
And they kind of championed artists as they were coming up, and as an in-house producer, they were just like, hey, we got pop. We want to, experiment with all this other stuff. I was like, I'm here. Listening to rock music back in high school and being around these guys, I got to just kind of be around other bands and, see the genre, work with a bunch of rock engineers and kind of form into a mini rock producer. I've been around too many to talk about the real one, but that's the short story of it.
That's so fun. I love to hear that, actually. Like, it has to be so good for your creativity as a group as well that you don't have to always come to the table for Vindata. Like, you get to learn things from other artists in a non official collaborative sort of way. Like you can play around with different sounds and techniques and textures and then bring that to what you guys are doing. It has to just help keep things fresh.
Yeah, I mean, even our first EP with Alza, Through Time and Space, it was mixed by Courtney Ballard, who is a very, very successful and amazingly talented engineer. So he brought like his knowledge with rock and like applied like that cleanness to like our EP and helped us get it to where we wanted it to sound. And the same thing with mastering, like he got us to the right people where we wanted it to have a different sound than you would typically hear with an electronic album. So shout out to those guys. They have a lot of knowledge.
Shout out to the whole rock genre.
Yeah, right. Yes, shout out. I have this terrible habit of like, I've been doing this lately and I'm like, I don't serve. Like, why do I do this? I'm just an embarrassment.
For some reason. I do this, but I do it sideways.
Oh
my goodness. That's it. The interview's just going to degenerate into just like, what's that? Incredible. I like too. It's it's kind of like surprising because so many electronic music producers these days are like so strictly kind of bedroom too, and it's cool that you're like a real studio geek at the same time. Like, I guess I don't want to say that all electronic musicians are like that, but it is more. I guess I'm more used to people being like, I just sit in my room and figure this shit out, like It's really dope that you're like the tech dude at the same time.
May slightly come with age because we're both a little bit older. So back when I first started, the people I looked up to were an old school generation of producers. They used to manage budgets, videos, and everything.
Yeah.
And being in those rock environments, when we switched over to, or while we were doing electronic music, you're literally in a computer box. You rarely go to the studio unless you're tracking vocals. So today's newer generation, that's kind of how they're raised, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel that because it's kind of like now we have so many like tools, plugins and stuff that like you don't really need. It's a recent like change now where you don't really need to go to the studio. Right. That wasn't always like that. When we first started getting into music, you definitely had to go to the studio. Like the home studios were like crap. Like you couldn't really do that. But so we kind of have the reference point of, using old school hardware and samplers and synthesizers back then, and keyboards back then. And then now we have like, we can use VSTs. We're in that world now. We have a bunch of plugins that can do half of the work that it would have took, days to do, like in the old school days. But I think like if you were younger, then obviously you might not have that reference, and you kind of just like, I just need to stay in my Yeah. But we definitely remember the days where you couldn't do that.
I know. And that's why I think it's like, talking back about Daft Punk and Discovery or Homework. And that's why those albums were such a big deal, because they were making it in a bedroom when no one had any business doing such a thing. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's a lengthy process.
Yeah, that's tough, especially back then.
Kay Thanks is asking about your Jack U remix. They're a big fan, and did that feel like a big moment to hit that project with your own take? I mean, that's definitely a big one. R.I.P. Jack U.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was kind of like the same year that we met Sonny. He was just like, yo, you guys want to do like, a Jack U remix? I'm doing remixes. I think at first he wanted us to do a remix for his solo album, like something off his solo album. And then I think the Jack U project he had on the back burner to follow up. So he was like, let's just do that, do something for Jack U. We're like, cool, we'll try it. It was actually like a pretty like hard trap record for us.
It's pretty tough to make.
Yeah.
Especially in the early days.
And try, how people are with remixes, like trying to top the original, which we normally don't do. Like we don't think of it that way, but we know that there's other people that think of it like, is it better than the original? It's like, it's not supposed to be better than the original.
Yeah, that's like a tough thing to try to do.
Trying to even think of that, like trying to top Jack U in a remix or trying to even like match it. That's going to be pretty heavy. Like,
no big deal.
Right.
Just a couple of like noobs over there.
Yeah, and I mean that was, I would say it was still a big moment though, because that was sort of our breakout year. Like 2014, even though we got a lot of like, we had a lot of hype in 2016, like that was a really big explosion for us. 2014 was like how everything was created, like our whole discovery with our first underground successful song, All I Really Need, kind of like kicked it off. And we did some remixes for Ellie Goulding, and I don't know, like that kind of started the whole relationship with Alza and Skrillex. So yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, we have just been chatting and chit-chatting and vibing, but I want to talk to you about the album. I want to talk to you about With Opened Eyes. The way it's kind of played in the media is that you took a break and then you came back to work on this project. Is that an accurate take? Were you kind of focusing on other things and then sat down to work on this album, or is that just a story someone's telling?
It is accurate. I mean, obviously, everybody took a break in 2020.
Right? Yeah.
2018, 2017, we were still working on the album. We've been working on the album for like 3 years, I think.
Right.
Songs were old.
Yeah, we sat down to act, like we decided to make an album in 2018 and start planning on putting it together. 2018. There was like a bunch of stuff that happened, and with teams and labels and all that, like there was a lot of like weird stuff that was going on, and we had to do some like personal growth, like as musicians and as individuals. We had to like, rediscover who we were in the process of making the album. And we got ready, got it all together, and then the pandemic hits.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just kind of like that, like going through all that and trying to grow through all that after, so long, and then seeing the world get turned upside down. It's just,
it was off the track today.
It's just like pretty crazy. I don't know.
You
like
you can answer people if they need to ask you.
I don't know. They're just like, I'm like, what do you do?
The more the merrier.
It took a while for us to get it together with the pandemic happening, and everyone's just more concerned about like the real things that matter in 2020.
That's tough.
Like it wasn't a time to like just put out music. It was like a really good time to focus on what's important to you, just as people.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me that the title of the album is With Opened Eyes. It seems to imply a revelation of sorts. It implies growth of some kind, whether it's like your eyes were opened to something that wasn't that great for you, or you have emerged from something with a freshness. Was that a title that you were already playing with before everything that happened this year? Is that more reflective of the personal growth you guys were just talking about?
So it is a title that we've been playing on not only this year, but honestly, since we started making EPs in general.
Really?
We'll explain a little Easter egg that we've been dropping.
Okay.
If you want to go back and read the titles of all of our EPs, they tie in together. So our first EP
I'm like
was called
going to figure it out now, but you tell me. If you're gonna tell me, you tell me.
So our first EP was called Paradigms. Our second EP was called For One to Follow. Our third EP was called Through Time and Space. And the album is called With Opened Eyes.
Okay, amazing. Is this referencing anything in particular, or are you guys just writing an epic poem from yourself? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a sentence. But but it's kind of like a self-prophesizing like sentence, like as it goes.
I love that. Yeah, now I'm looking at it as physically too. It's helpful when I'm looking at it. I'm like saying it again in my head. Paradigms for one to follow through space and time and space with opened eyes.
Yeah.
Incredible. That is so awesome. And then you've got the ellipses in through time and space too, which I guess is implying that there's like something to
more.
come.
So yeah, we've been leaving these like cookie crumbs, our we've been leaving our breadcrumbs. We've been leaving that, and a couple of our fans, they've like figured it out. Like some people are figuring it out, but it's more just about like, you know, setting little reminders of yourself in life, and just checking in on that and like reflecting back on that. And with open eyes, it's kind of like a meaning within a meaning. It goes along with the rest of the sentence, but it's almost like I said, it was self-prophesizing because we went through so much shit while we created it. And on the back end, like our eyes were open on the back end. So it's kind of, we believe that everything happens for a reason. So like, that's kind of like how it all played out. And
see, that's what you did. You fucking manifested a whole real moment for yourselves here. The elves of magic were like, oh, they're summoning. They are summoning.
We're pretty spiritual people.
I love this. Girl Jackie says this is totally epic, and I'm so glad that you are bringing. This is incredible. I want to hear more about. If you want to talk to me about your awesome spiritual insights, I'm here for that too. Teach me the paradigms, but I guess we can learn that by listening to the music as well. But yeah, I saw on your Instagram that you made this really beautiful video of you guys working on the keyboards and kind of writing in a notebook, and the timestamps were starting in 2018. So I was gathering that you at least started the album in 2018. And what made you decide to go for an album? It's not always the go-to for electronic musicians, although now I know you have all these ties to rock and things, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, why an album? Why now? Was that always the intention for With Opened Eyes? Like, how deep does this go? You guys are clearly very intentional artists, as I am discovering.
You can take that.
I think well, first we didn't want to be pigeonholed into like a just like an EDM act, and just popping out singles. We've never actually been a singles type artist. Like, that's never really been our forte. We've struck some luck with a couple singles, like Better and Favor, Crazy, and they're dope, but we are a projects type of group that we work better with projects, because we have so much to like share, and we just can't get it all in one single. Like we just can't do it. That's just not our thing. And we can give you a bunch of songs that play like singles. Yeah. And I feel like the album is like that. Like it
Definitely.
has a bunch of singles worthy type like feelings to them, but we're project people, and I think we've been in the game for so long that it just seems like it's time for us to like stand up and make a statement, and we want people to like actually like take us seriously as artists, and obviously still have fun with all of our shit, but yeah, we just really wanted to do something bold. Like we were tired of just walking around and, you know, going through the motions with shit. Like we really wanted to do something bold and make a strong statement. So we were like, yo, let's do this, you know.
And producer tip to any new producers, it's way easier to come up with more singles if you cohesively just make an EP or an album. Right. You'll have 10 to 15 vibes that are different that are all together.
Yeah.
Right. Coming out over time. There goes your transition.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that you guys did a really wonderful job with the album, and I think it captures so many facets of who you are as artists and producers and fans of music. Like it really is spanning the gamut and showing your skills off in the studio as well. And I'd love to hear how you pushed yourselves both musically on this project and also as songwriters. Do you guys work in tandem with the songwriters? I thought that you did, but I just am making sure. Okay. But yeah, I'm sure both must have been frontier pushing for you on this project.
Well, yeah, 100%. As an engineer, like this is what my natural habitat is tracking vocals. This guy's murderous on the A&Ring. He definitely helps out more on the writing, the lyrics and stuff, because my brain is all computers.
You're the data.
We're very particular about it because it hones in the sound. So when we're sitting down with the writer, it's just easier to explain stuff, vocal produce them in the studio and be like, hey, we like this, and maybe let's go this way, as opposed to like, here's an instrumental, be about your business, we'll come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of ruins
I think the challenges were just really like keeping the same focus, keeping everything consistent and cohesive. The writers that we worked with, they were already like superstars in our eyes. Like I think a lot of people don't realize like how many talented writers are actually responsible for what you hear out there. Like you might have never heard their name. You might have, they're not a household name or anything like that. But I mean, one day they will be. But these are the people that are really, really like creating the hits.
Yeah.
And we have some pretty heavy hitters on the industry side between like Cadence and Melanie Fontana, bunch of other people. Like we have like some really talented people on our album. We're really proud of them. Even in their solo projects, like we really support everything they're doing. Maurice Moore, Joystar, like all those guys, they brought it to us and they made our jobs easier, definitely.
Yeah. So did you do much work in this pandemic period? You kind of sounds like fought through a lot of the struggle of putting it together beforehand, but was there any kind of hindsight with what we were going through in the last year and a half that you brought to the project with that extra time?
Yeah, we tried to gear, on one tidbit, we definitely are, we've always been unapologetically African-American or Black, whatever the PC term is. Now it's a little more...
Whatever you want to say, right? It's your fucking words.
You might get chance for anything. But we're unapologetically now. It's freeing to see more people of color around. It's like, oh, I could make this style and say this and do these things because there's other people around us that are, coming out the woodworks.
Yeah, I feel like, so there's like the pandemic side of just like everyone's in the same boat, but then with all the like racial tension and then, the BLM stuff, George Floyd.
You guys were in LA too. That was like a hotbed for the protests and just crazy shit going down.
Stuff. Yeah. That stuff was like, it really hit us hard. And these are conversations that we've had with each other and other Black folk and allies. And it's kind of like, this is stuff that we've been talking about for a long time. It's not a new thing for us.
Right.
It's just, it's just been around and it's been downplayed. But I think since last year, the conversation piece is there. Like everyone's talking about it and we feel like a sense of relief that we can like express ourselves genuinely about these matters. So
it's like someone broke the dam and now we can just speak freely about what in the fuck is going on.
So especially in the dance music scene.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Like
the whole dance music scene, like since we've been in it a while, we've kind of experienced a lot as Black guys in this, and we're finally able to talk about that kind of stuff with dance music, like feeling like an outcast or having little comments, like people at shows might say like little things, making us feel weird. about like being Black, but in
That's so
dance
weird.
music, but not really understanding where house music comes from or where techno music comes
Right.
from.
I was gonna ask when you guys, we were talking about how a lot of your entry was similar to mine in this kind of blog house world, and were you even aware that this is Black culture to start with? Did you know that getting into it, or did you discover that later? Like, wait, what?
We knew that getting into it, but at the time, like we were running with our blog house friends, but we still knew that like Chicago house was like the staple. Like, and we still went to shows like that. Like, we didn't like discriminate. Like electronic music was electronic music. Right. Like we were, our favorites were Justice, but we definitely knew that, like Chicago house and Detroit techno, like that's not going anywhere. And, but again, like how we talked about before, like prior to EDM, we didn't feel as much as an outcast back then as we did during EDM explosion. Now, it's like within the EDM explosion, we feel more like an outcast, which it shouldn't be. It should be easier now. Like it's grown.
But it got so like bro-y, for lack of a better term, right? It definitely got like, I feel like when the term EDM came out, it was like, now we can prescribe a uniform to it and like a demographic target. And we're going after this like tank frat bro and like the girl or whatever. And it's funny because I remember too, that in the blog house days or whatever, everyone was wearing like neon American Apparel and all this shit. And like, I remember my boyfriend at the time was like a big, purple skinny jeans type guy. And people, the same people, I'm not saying the same people, but the same type of person who would then one day, 4 years later, be at Ultra wearing that sort of stuff would like be like faggot in the street or whatever, and like, sorry if that word made anyone feel a type of way, but like, it's just weird when you like, and I guess this is what's been happening forever and ever, especially with like the Black community and other, communities or minorities or what have you. Even though I hate the term minority because it's like, who's a minority in the country anymore? It's not really white people are the majority. But anyway, and so I guess maybe that's an interesting lesson to like watch that happen in my lifetime. Like, oh, I see how someone takes something from someone else, and then next thing you know, no one even remembers that it came from the other thing, and like, I don't know. But I'm sorry that you guys had to like be like made to feel, after all of your time and dedication and hard work and winning the place that you had in a scene, sometimes feel like an outsider again. Like, that's so crazy. I guess that's the fucking music business, but what do you have to say?
It's weird. I mean, we're kind of used to it, but it's weird because we shouldn't be used to it.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't be something that you become accustomed to, because it really shouldn't happen like that. And like, we've got it all. We've done shows and people take photos and people write in comment sections, like, and we're just DJing and like they see our face and they're like shocked that there's a black face on an EDM label's, Facebook page or something, and they're just
so
like
crazy, because I feel like, and this might also
the N-word
be
thrown at us left and right. Like, we've seen it.
Okay, that may be also, and thank you, Baby Wait, for subscribing. And Nightshade is saying that's brutal, and they're sorry to hear that you had to deal with this. Sales Miguel is saying that's so messed up, but it's interesting to also hear this because, I'm lucky to live in a world that's pretty sheltered from people who are that fucking mean and wrong. And as a journalist, especially now, but even before now, it's like we've all been aware of these issues, and it's like trying to show. I feel like labels are always trying to kind of like prance about and be like, look, we have a black person on our label and we have a woman too, and it's like, wow, you did such a great job. And then but then to like, I'm so used to that sort of silliness. And to hear that even then someone else is like going, why do you have one, is
Right.
so fucking asinine. I'm just like, and my brain is breaking, and it was broken when I started the stream, but fucking A, man, that's crazy. But do you okay, so we had this year of this moment, this March of Reckoning last year, right? Or April, I think it was April, when George Floyd was murdered, right? And then people started taking to the streets, and then there was that blackout moment and all of the things. But now, as it's been a year from then, and people are starting to come out into the world, are you sensing any real change? Are you sensing people trying to make a change? Are you seeing any of that stuff people were kind of saying they wanted to do as artists?
Definitely, at least out here, people seem a little bit nicer. Some are in shell shock. Obviously, there's a lot of people you're seeing that are just kind of like, oh, I'm outside. What the hell?
Yeah.
Other people have been nicer, and there are, close friends of ours that are taking that. They took that time to get their lives into a better place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there is some sort of movement in that lane. There's not a lot. Like, it's not like, oh, everything is peachy now. Like,
Right.
But I do see, just from last year to this year, there's a tone shift, like a subtle tone shift that it's making us feel a lot more welcomed in the community.
Yeah.
And, we're just able to like write music and express ourselves as who we are, and not have like our ethnicity be on display as this like thing that we need to like, look at, like, what is that? Let's address the elephant in the room. Like, this is weird. Like, I feel like we feel a lot more comfortable than we did prior to all of this. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, because I think that, it's tough as a student of history, right, to like see these things happen and to just be like, well, everyone's making a real big ruckus right now, and I hope that something comes of it, because it's not the first time we've had these conversations.
Right.
Generationally, we've been having these conversations, and there is like incremental change that happens.
Right.
But
it's weird that it takes so much to get so little change. It takes like a lot of chaos to get like those little incremental changes. But I mean, I guess we'll take whatever we can get.
Right.
We'll just keep pushing this rock inch by inch.
Exactly. Well, clearly Blurry says they're happy to hear that you guys feel more welcomed, and me too. And especially when you talk about electronic music, particularly, like the whole culture is rooted in this like welcoming spirit.
Right.
And it's like the one spot you really should just let people be who they are. That's what it's all fucking about. And like queer cultures have the safe space, and like it's crazy that it's like we have this beautiful culture of like queer black and brown people that then like, did this whole weird crazy 180, and now we're like, all right, like, let's bring some back.
I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, we were talking about like plur culture.
Plur, yeah.
And it's like, when we first got into it, like plur kind of meant what plur really is.
Peace, love, unity, respect. Yeah.
And that's why we liked it. We were like, oh, this, because we came from the hip hop world. We came from like going to clubs, and you step on somebody's shoes, like, yo,
yeah.
Something might go down. Like, we came from that like environment, and we stumbled upon the rave scene and electronic music, and we were like, wow, everyone is so peaceful. Everyone's hugging, and everyone's like, taking care of each other, respecting each other, looking out for each other. Yeah. We love this environment. This is great. And that's why it was so unfortunate that the idea behind plur got lost in translation with like the advent of EDM. Like, it kind of like lost its meaning, and now it's just something to say.
Right.
That,
it's a plastic bracelet. I made it for you. That is the one I'll say, like, yeah, I got into the dance music scene in South Florida, and I didn't like claim it as my own really, even though I was like going to these raves like, pretty regularly. But that's what I also enjoyed about it because I was like an outcast kid, you know, I was like the weirdo at school, and then here I was having fun with people, and everyone was a weirdo, and it was cool, and
just
it was,
like you,
yeah, it was great. And then once the Bloghouse thing happened, which was like mixing the rock I was into and the hip hop with the dance music stuff I knew. That's when I was like, I will claim this. This is mine now. I am a part of this.
Right.
And it is nice. I do feel like that we are starting to get back to that place. At least it doesn't feel like, you know, the big hype of EDM kind of died down. There's other things that are making people more money now. And it's like, dance music is bigger than it was before. And I think it'll always be kind of one of the main genres now. But at least it's not like, you know, full of exploitative assholes to the same degree. Hopefully everyone who's here wants to be here.
I think like last year, one good thing that happened last year is I think with so much stuff happening, it's weeded out the people that really didn't belong part of the scene anyways. They weren't authentic. They really didn't get it. They didn't get the level like that the people that really love this shit, like they didn't get it. So they moved on. They can go, like it's fine. We're gonna stay here because we like it.
I feel like you're talking about we're at a party and we're all in this room and we're like, we're gonna stay in this room with the smoking hands.
All right, buddy. Have fun. Have fun jumping on the next thing.
Oh man, it's kind of okay. This conversation also made me think about the visual art that you guys have going along with this album and this release, and it's so cool. It's so beautiful. I'd love to know who you worked with on it. This kind of like mixed media. And it looks like, are these photos from your childhoods? Are these photos of people you know? What's going on with all this cool stuff?
The album cover itself is actual photos from our childhood. We wanted that to be, you know, it kind of puts a statement there of what this project is about. The other artwork.
Yeah, it was more like, you know, since it's a reflection of our past experiences, we wanted our own personal, like, pieces to be in it, which was kind of ballsy for us because, like, I don't know if I really wanted, like, my childhood, like, baby photos and stuff.
You just pick your favorite one, right? Not the one where you're naked in the tub, but where you're
like, hey, mom, like, you know. Yeah, so we kind of threw those together, but we thought it would be dope because we wanted it to be more of like a storytelling type feeling. So we used that, and then we worked with a guy, Dylan at Monstercat. He really helped us put this together. So shout out to him. But yeah, it has some like masculine and feminine aesthetics to it, and that's what our whole like music is about. Is like balancing those two worlds.
Yes.
So most of the things that we try to focus on is like, you know, finding that happy medium. So with our melodies and our chords and all that kind of, it usually comes from our feminine side. And then our, you know, our drums, our bass, all that, and the crazy effects, that's our masculine side that we like to keep married together. So, you know, we wanted to show that in the artwork too. So shout out to Dylan for hooking that up.
That's so cool. I now that I hear you say that, this balance of the masculine and the feminine, that I hear it, I get it, I totally sense that, and I love that you two are in touch with your feminine side and letting everybody know as well. The spirituality is coming back. I see it. You guys really are about it. You're not just saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I got 4 little sisters. He has a little sister too, so you know, we love our.
Yeah, and that's really where creativity comes from. Your feminine side. Yeah, that's really where it comes from. Like, it doesn't come from your masculine side. Your masculine side is from destroy stuff.
Right, destroy. That's true. Yeah. The Cro-Magnon.
Yeah. But yeah, getting that emotion out. You know, we like to make music. I tweeted this earlier today, like, producer tip, make memorable music. Make music that people remember. I don't think people really realize how important memory is. It really is, because that's what people are going to go back to. That's going to like sustain you as an artist.
Right.
If people continue to come back, it's the same thing as any other business model. What are they trying to do? They want repeat business. So how do you get repeat business? I got to like make something that people want to continue to like come back to.
Yeah.
And it works the same way with music. It's like, if you're making memorable music, then people will love you for it, and they'll be touched by it and they'll be moved by it. But, you know, sometimes, especially in electronic music, we get caught up in sound design and crazy things, and let's just make a crazy reaction to get that crazy reaction when the drop hits. And it's like, sometimes it's not all about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to just like give them something to like play whenever, and
music, music to live your life to, you know, like stuff you're gonna put on for the moments that become your memories too.
Yeah, like, because that makes it timeless.
Yeah,
if it's in a memory, it's like in that time capsule. So, yeah, that's what we try to do, like all the time. Like we're trying to do that.
I'm loving this. Okay, we are coming to about an hour of conversation, and it's been such a lovely conversation.
Don't go!
I don't want to go. We don't have to go right away, but I will make a little. Baby Wait made a very funny joke. She said, I keep hearing mescaline side, and I'm like, that's not the side.
Wait, what?
Do you know what mescaline is? I'm sorry, it's...
Mescaline? Is that a drug?
Yes! I'm sorry, that was... Just throwing the vibe to the side. No, I would love to, you know, we were just talking about memories and the power of memories, and so with that in mind, are there any particular memories from the making of this album with Opened Eyes that you'd like to share? Memories that you're going to take with you, or already are carrying with you, that you want to share?
It's just the process. You know, we are musicians at heart, so it's the process of being able to create the first album, going through those different transitions, working with different people, and then seeing the fruition now. You know, everybody's reaction to the culmination of all the work and stuff we put in.
I don't know if there's a memory, a standout memory for me while like creating it, but I think our personal lives, what we were going through, the hardships that we went through, and the headspace we were in during this time, like I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Like
that's not going away, because it was such a hard and pivotal moment for us, and we're better men now than we were before, and I guess we owe that all to, you know, the experiences and the good and the bad that came along with it.
Yeah. You guys are great men. My heart is swelling for you. Wait, are you gonna make memories with this music on the road? Are you starting to plan a reemergence like the cicadas? Are you gonna come back out into the world?
The cicadas. Yes, the tour is coming. We have a fall tour coming up. We have a lot of surprises for the fall tour, by the way. Like, completely different than any Vindata show. If you've been to a Vindata show before, go to the fall tour. It's going to be completely different.
Yes.
Before. We also have some upcoming one-off dates. So we'll be in DC next week for Juneteenth.
Oh, nice. Congrats. Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is that now, will that be your first show back, or have you done shows?
We just came back last week. We did Dallas, and we threw our album release party at the W in Hollywood. So we had fun there.
Yeah, gotta have an album release. It was a good thing you waited, because you got to have an album release party.
Right. Ooh. Like who wanted to have an album release party like over like
Zoom or whatever? Yeah.
Zoom, yeah.
Not the same. Not the same.
If we would have dropped it in 2020, like we'd have been doing like phone calls and stuff.
Hey
Big
mom,
time.
it's out. Yeah, you can stream it now on all DSPs. That's awesome.
But yeah, we had our first show on the road, back on the road last week in Dallas. Had a great show. Shout out to everyone that was there. Like, it's just really, really great to see all of our fans, people that we haven't seen in a while. Some of our old fans came through. We got to see them and meet our new fans for the first time. Like, it was dope.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
It must have
Real
been just like, I can only imagine, slightly liberating to
Yeah.
finally be back behind decks.
Yeah, I mean, we practice at home, but it was nice to be in front of people, so I'm not just staring at my wall like okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
There's nothing like real, like, in-person, interactions like that.
Yeah, having a crowd to read and everything, not just like each other. Like, that sounds sick. Yeah, I agree. That was a great drop.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, on the way out, we're going to listen to "Good for Me," which is mashed up with Union for the visualizer, and "Good for Me" is good for me. I love that track. It's fabulous. Is there anything you guys want to say about those songs on the way out?
I don't know. We like them. They came out dope.
That is true.
Shout out to Rocket League for putting it in the game.
Yes, actually, my buddy Chaotic Beats was just like, I know these guys from Rocket League.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah. I think "Good for Me" is like a little funkier record that we like. Low key, it almost didn't make the album. I don't know what we were thinking.
It was chilling on the hard drive for a while.
It was on the back burner, and then we threw it back in there, and we're like, Monstercat was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that song's a banger. Okay, that just lets me know that you guys have all kinds of heat that just isn't out there. You guys are sitting on some
Hard
gold,
drives.
aren't you?
Yeah, hard drives.
We got hard drives on hard drives on hard drives.
Amazing. Guys, it was so wonderful to connect with you, to chat with you, to get to know you better. And I'm amazed. You guys have really created a vast, dynamic universe with your music. And that's very, very cool. I appreciate that. Keep being that. And
Cool.
I can't wait. I'll come find you guys in the fall. I'll chase ya.
Let's hang.
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your evening, okay?